around Miami. The Atlanta Braves, the Miami Marlins are safely inside Marlins Park. Roof shut, AC on. Game 2 on. Braves winners last night. Braves are rolling. They continue to play well. Best record in the National League. Chris Coughlin, Brian McCann, Logan Morrison, all getting ready. Julio Teheran gets the ball. Christian Yelich will be facing a good right-hander, and Tom Kohler goes for the pitch. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hutton. The Marlins are getting a good look, and they've had this look all season long at why the Atlanta Braves are the best team record-wise in the National League.
Well, they come at you all ways. They have tremendous pitching. The starters are real solid. And we've seen a good look at their bullpen, and when Kimbrel comes in to close, you know why the Braves are where they are.
For the Braves, these last 20 games, it's getting ready for the postseason. For the Marlins, it's a chance to look towards next year, put some pieces in different places. One of those guys who's been in a variety of spots is Chris Coughlin.
I think, Rich, it's really interesting for Chris Coughlin. He's gotten work at third base. We've seen him start some games in right field. He's starting in left field tonight. It hasn't affected his hitting at all. In 7 games, .310. Matter of fact, the last 3 games for Coughlin, he's 7 for 14, coming off a 4-hit night last night. So in the mind of Chris Coughlin, he wants to finish this year strong. He wants to leave this year with a good taste in his mouth.
Of course, Coughlin, a Rookie of the Year in 2009. Jose Fernandez tomorrow night makes his final statement for a Rookie of the Year award. A guy that's on that list and in the discussion throws tonight for the Atlanta Braves. And the Marlins have seen him. He's really good, Julio Teheran.
Yeah, it is amazing. You can't forget about this 22-year-old. Teheran has good stuff. In talking to the Marlins hitters, they've seen Teheran a few times. 3 starts this year against the Marlins. You see the numbers, 2-0 and a nice 2.41 ERA. Coming off a very good month of August, 4-2, a 2.80 ERA in August. He has all the pitches, good live fastball, his breaking ball, and a changeup as well. The Marlins saw their fill changeup last night from Medlin.
Well, Tom Kohler gets the baseball for the Marlins. For Kohler, it's consistency. It's putting together 5-6 innings in a row rather than 3 good ones and then 1 bad one.
Yeah, he's had an opportunity to start a lot this year. That's good for Tom Kohler. It allows him to show the organization what he can do. 6 games, though, his last 6 games, the ERA is just under 6. He has to be in the strike zone. He has to be consistent.
Tonight, it is Art in the Park. The Contessa's in the house, and it's an email Twitter Tuesday for the Marlins and the Braves. To start things, Allison Williams, A-Dub.
All right, Rich, tonight we are talking art in the park, and it is most prominently displayed in Marlins Park in center field. The Red Groom's home run sculpture, certainly a signature part of all the artwork here in Marlins Park. And to tell us a little bit more about that is Claude Delorme, Executive Vice President of Operations and Events. And Claude, when fans come to this ballpark, one of the things they remember most when they leave is this beautiful home run sculpture. Tell me a little bit about how it came to be here at Marlins Park.
It all started with the Art in Public Places with the county. We had to identify specific pieces that we wanted to incorporate in the ballpark, and we were looking for a signature piece in the outfield area. And Red Groom submitted his piece among 400 artists and was the successful winner of it. And then it became a mechanical feature in which we really highlight all the vibrant colors associated in South Florida, and with the sun, the water, and everything that goes with it. You've got the Marlins going up and down the arch, landing in water, and right next to where we are, there's a big splash effect every time the Marlins land in the water. So it really identifies this ballpark to Miami and what we're all about.
It is so uniquely Miami. When you saw it come together from the renderings and then to the actual sculpture, what was that like?
It really changed. Our first draft, really the first time we saw a draft by Red, and the components and the moving parts evolved throughout his work. And he was, you talk about passion and all these artists, and to have an international artist like Red Groom's associated with this venue just brings this whole ballpark to the next level.
All right, and while it is certainly the piece of art that most people associate with Marlins Park, it is not the only piece of art, and we're going to see a lot of them tonight. Claude will be with me throughout the broadcast as we take a tour of some of the great Marlins art here in the park, so make sure you stay tuned for that. On an email, Twitter, Tuesday, join the conversation. Hashtag Marlins Art. It's Braves and Marlins first pitch coming up.
Let's Go Places by AT&T Uverse TV. Check availability, 1-800-PICK-AT&T. Rethink Possible by Just for Men Mustache and Beard. And by Checkers. Feast On. In Miami tonight, Braves and Marlins. Braves try to continue their march to the best record in the National League and home field advantage in the postseason at 86-57. our Freddie Gonzalez's group. JM Lexus brings you the starting lineup. Jordan Schaefer is in center field. Justin Upton in right. Freddie Freeman's at first. Evan Gaddis is in the cleanup spot. Brian McCann will do the catching. Chris Johnson is at third base. Andrelton Simmons, the shortstop. Elliott Johnson is at second. And Julio Teheran will hit ninth. There's a look at Tom Kohler for Kohler's 20th start of the season.
You see the last 6 starts there on the bottom column, 0-3 and the ERA 5.68. The other thing about Tom Kohler, in his first 11 starts this year, he issued just 17 walks. That's over 64-plus innings. In his next 8 starts, 24 walks, over 42 innings. And we've talked about that. The walks get him in trouble, so let's see if he stays in the strike zone tonight.
Defensively, the Marlins move some pieces around tonight. Brought to you by the Cleveland Clinic, Florida.
Well, one thing, if you're Chris Coughlin, you have to check the lineup card to see where you are. He's in left field tonight. That's because Giancarlo's back in the lineup and Yelich is in center. Lucas Echeverria, Solano, and Morrison around the infield, and Rob Brantley behind the plate.
Schaefer to the plate, and he runs up, rolls it foul. I don't know that anyone expected Jordan Schaefer to play this much or play this big a role for the Braves when things started. In fact, you look at the Braves media guide to start the year, and there's B.J. Upton in center and Jason Hayward and Justin Upton in the outfield. But the best made plans of general managers and executives don't always come to fruition. B.J. Upton has really struggled. Hayward's out with that broken jaw. Justin Upton is in there, but the Braves have gotten a nice season out of Schaefer.
There's a couple of things that can happen. A guy like Schaefer, number one, he's getting an opportunity. The name that comes to mind is Nate McLouth, who all of a sudden, after bouncing around, he was a Brave a bit. He was with the Pirates and now flourishing with the Orioles.
Backhanded there, and a quick flip by Solano in time to get the out.
Nicely done by Donovan Solano. We saw him last night go to his left, this time to his right, and then is able to turn and make a nice throw over to first base. Nicely done. You know, you think about it, Rich, the Braves could begin postseason with a couple of very expensive bench players.
Yeah, they could. They have a very powerful number 2 hitter in Justin Upton. Upton climbs in, having a streaky type year. We talked about his incredible April with 12 home runs and a really nice August. And Atlanta's hoping that September gets into October hot.
You get a streaky player like Justin Upton, and you're getting ready for postseason. You want him to be in one of those good streaks when postseason begins. But he had a base hit last night, and that snapped an 0 for 18 that he was on.
You see his second half numbers.
Power numbers down a little bit, but a lot of that, the damage in the first half, as you mentioned, was done in April.
Yeah, the 2 months starting with A were good for Upton. He reaches out, hits a little pop. Morrison back and is there and makes the catch. Kohler gets the first 2 outs of this first inning. Freddie Freeman is coming up, and it's a good time to throw out the very first email, especially since Freeman is in the MVP discussion, and rightfully so, with close to 100 RBIs. He's at 96, 19 homers. He's been a rock for the Braves. Gary in Boynton Beach asks, if Andrew McCutchen wins the MVP, he'll be the first center fielder in 28 years to do so. Who was the last center fielder to win MVP?
Throwing trivia at us.
That's right. Throwing down the gauntlet.
So that would be in 93. 20 years? 92 or
28 years.
28 years. Okay.
So you're looking 80.
In the 80s.
Was Dale Murphy's last.
Could be Dale. He won back-to-back MVPs.
All right, well, how about a Twitter poll while we throw
And I'm going to say that's a good guess on your part. I'm going to say that's who it is.
Is Freddie Freeman a legitimate National League MVP candidate?
Absolutely.
Yes. Hashtag Freddie MVP, yes. That's not to say that he's going to win it, but the question is he a legitimate candidate?
I'll tell you a name that's crept into the MVP talks lately is Matt Carpenter, the Cardinals, along with his teammate Yadier Molina.
Yeah, well, we heard that talk when we last saw the Cardinals because of just the incredible value leading the league in runs, being such a great hitter at the top of the order. Smacked into right. Stanton over to get it. Freeman around first. He'll hold right there. Stanton with that tender ankle seemed to get over there fine and make a strong throw to second. So that's good to see. And here's Evan Gattis with a runner at first and 2 outs.
Well, Freddie Freeman has hit over 350 this year against the Marlins. So no surprise that he gets himself a base hit.
Gattis last night had a big hit, a 2-run double in the 4th. And he smacks that one in the gap. Left center field. Freeman is off and running. Headed towards third. Up with the ball, Yelich. Here comes Freeman, and he is going to score. And Evan Gattis does it again. Tell you what, the Braves really have something with this guy who had just the unbelievable story in getting to the big leagues. Now that he's here, and now that he went back down to get his stroke back, he's clobbering the ball again.
Boy, old school, no batting gloves, and he just rakes this ball. And for Evan Gattis, 53 RBIs, he has just 278 at bats. So extremely productive.
Into Brian McCann. I know you can't have everything in life, and last night you were pointing out that if there is a weak spot for the Braves, it's at the top of the order. But once they get into the order, Upton, Freeman, Gattis, McCann, Chris Johnson, a batting leader right now. And McCann knocks one in the gap. That's going to the same place as Gattis's ball. And the Braves with back-to-back hits. Freeman the single, Gattis and McCann with doubles. It's 2-0.
Now the Braves doing what they did last night in the 4th inning. They put together 3 doubles in a row, a walk and then another base hit. They got all their runs and all their hits in that 4th inning. Think about the Braves, Rich, if they go on and advance and get to the World Series and they're able to use a DH. That's just a sweet swing. That's something Brian McCann has done his entire career. Brian McCann is one of those guys, he's just a pure hitter.
Having a discussion with Andy Fletcher, the second base umpire. And now here's Johnson, who was 1 for 4 last night. He smacks it in the gap. Yelich is over, and he makes the catch. Tom Kohler got the first 2 outs. Then the Braves get the first 2 runs. Headed to the bottom of the first, 2-0 Atlanta. Like last night, it's 2-0 Atlanta. And the Marlins lineup brought to you by JM Lexus, Chris Coughlin, Ed Lucas, Christian Yelich, Giancarlo Stanton, Logan Morrison, Donovan Solano, Adeiny Echeverria, Rob Brantley, and Tom Kohler. And there is Julio Teheran. His name certainly in the discussion for Rookie of the Year. Teheran and the Marlins just saw each other at the end of August. And Teheran was terrific. In fact, he outdueled Jose Fernandez and won the ball game 2-1, 6 1/3, 4 hits, a run, and he punched out 8.
And there's a look at Julio Teheran. The Marlins have seen him 3 times this year, and he's pitched well. 2-0 and a 2.41 ERA, coming off a good month of August. And right at the top, if not the top, near the top of their rotation.
Chris Coughlin up first. Braves couldn't get Coughlin out last night. 4 for 4 night. Line drives, sharp ground balls all over the ballpark. As we showed you from the outset of the telecast, for the rest of the year, you'll see Coughlin in a variety of spots. In left, made a start in right. He can play center. Here's the 1-1. Swing and a miss. As Mike Redmond told us before the ball game, Chris Coughlin is swinging the bat well, and if that's Chris Coughlin, then he's going to play. Because the Marlins, offensively challenged throughout the year, are looking for bats. Breaking ball. And a good one. Boy, Teheran snaps it off. And Coughlin goes down. Defense brought to you by Cleveland Clinic, Florida.
Well, there's Gaddis, the big bat. He's in left. Schaefer and Upton in the outfield. Chris Johnson. Andrelton Simmons has been very solid at shortstop. Elliott Johnson at second. Freddie Freeman and Brian McCann. Andrelton Simmons, I think, has a shot to win a Gold Glove this year.
I would agree with you on that. Ed Lucas comes to the plate. A lot of other scouts would agree with you on that. Simmons has made 10 errors on the year, and he makes spectacular plays just like Adeiny Echeverria. Echeverria has made 14 on the season. And the other thing, when you talk to teams around the National League, the infield in Atlanta at times cannot be the easiest for an infielder. And yet he plays it, and he plays it well. Lucas dumps it into center field, and Lucas has a hit. And up comes Christian Yelich.
Not that it should matter, and I know we've had discussions on this, but with Simmons, it'll help him too that he has 15 home runs. He swung the bat all right this year too.
This is from Ian in Davie. I'm a senior at Western High School, play on my school's varsity baseball team. As Yelich swings and misses, I'm interested in pursuing a sports announcing career and going to college for communications and broadcasting. Would it be possible to get an internship with you next season? Are we accepting internships? Applications?
I don't know if we've crossed over that that period of time yet.
Pitch misses outside. Ian, I would say this. Get yourself into a good college. Get yourself on the student television and radio station. Play baseball for as long as you can. And try to get an internship when you're in college.
Was the MVP center field, was that directed at the National League?
Last center fielder to be an MVP, I think, was
because I'm getting a tweet from Travis. It's telling me that 16 years ago, Ken Griffey Jr. was the MVP.
So if you go nationally, was Willie McGee an MVP in St. Louis? He won a batting
Murphy
title.
was 82 and 83. Dale Murphy.
I know McGee won a batting title, and he actually won a batting title with both teams. He had enough at bats with St. Louis, then I think he got traded to Oakland and still won the batting title because he had enough at bats to qualify in the National League. Full count, 3-2 to Yelich. Lucas is at first. Julio Teheran has put in a terrific season, and the Braves, obviously, as you pointed out, are counting on him once the postseason starts. With so much talk about inning workload for young pitchers around baseball, not just Jose Fernandez, Teheran is sitting at 161 to third, 26 starts. Braves have the luxury over the next 3 weeks to, if they want to push him out a few days like they have here on this start, they can do that and limit his innings going into the postseason.
Yeah, last year for Teheran, between AAA and a few games with the Braves, he threw just 137 and a third innings. Year before that in the minor leagues, he threw over 144. But I was told he's on no limit. But you're right, I think they can pick their spots. Freddie Gonzalez will give him those extra days.
Pitch misses outside. And Yelich trots down to first. Suddenly Julio Teheran having trouble finding the plate.
Well, there's the scouting report. He has solid velocity. He'll use both 2 and 4 seamers. And that curveball, that was the pitch that struck out Chris Coghlan.
Tommy, one thing we refuse to do, and I emailed Twitter Tuesday when a question like that comes up, is Google it and search for it on our laptops. So we threw out Murphy and McGee. And it turns out Willie McGee in 1985 was an MVP.
All right.
But you've had other outfielders, guys that weren't in center. Andre Dawson in 87. Kirk Gibson in 88. Kevin Mitchell in 89. Bonds in 90. And, of course, Bonds had that long run of MVP awards. Stanton takes a breaking ball. Stanton, when he was in Atlanta, tweaked the ankle, played on it, and finally got to the point where he needed to take a couple days off. Back in the lineup. And the Marlins hoping he can do some damage here. Teheran. That's hammered down the line. And fair. Scorching into the corner. Lucas will score. Yelich racing for third. Stop sign is up. And with Simmons' arm on the relay, Yelich probably would have been in trouble at the plate. That ball was hit so hard. It's amazing that it didn't hook foul.
Well, that's why it didn't hook foul. It was hit so hard. If you don't hit that ball that hard, it hooks foul. Giancarlo has so much strength. He lines this ball, it stays fair, and he hit it so hard that Gaddis was able to get to it. Even though Yelich was flying from first base, Joe Espada put the stop sign up for him.
On Phantom Cam, we've got Phantom Cam over in the first base camera well tonight. Stanton's bat doesn't vibrate as much as the others, does it? I mean, it's just solid.
Wow.
Other guys hit that, and the bat looks like a noodle sometimes. Here's Morrison.
That would be a wet noodle,
yeah.
too.
All right, and a bat here for Morrison and a chance to tie the game or even take the lead. A simple ground ball will do the trick as far as tying it. The Braves infield will surrender the run to get a ground ball. They're back. Stanton's at second. Yelich is at third. Morrison 0 for 2 last night. Busts his bat. A little looper. Gonna fall. Base hit. Yelich scores, and for Morrison, he's probably thinking maybe there is a baseball god. Remember the ball he hit last night, about 390 feet, a rocket to right that was caught at the track? Well, that was a busted bat and an RBI single.
And I watched both of the base runners. I thought they did a good job. Yelich goes back and tags up. Stanton goes about halfway there. Once he sees it drop, he knows he's not going to score, but he gets over to third. And Yelich did the right thing and Of course, Lomo did the right thing, dropped it in for an RBI single.
At the corners, and here is Solano. Braves infield back for 2.
Nice to see the offense respond after the Braves put a 2 spot up there in the top half of the inning.
Of course, all year long, Solano has kind of been the answer to not necessarily a trivia question, but a question most people don't know the answer to, and that is, who's the Marlins' best hitter with runners in scoring position? And it's Donovan Solano at .356. With runners in scoring position and 2 outs, obviously there's 1 out here, but as Vin would say, it's interesting to note, .455.
I mean, he's up there with Freddie Freeman in that department. Boy, just such a difference when Stanton is in the middle of that lineup.
Breaking ball misses outside. You'd be surprised to find the Marlin who is second on the list with runners in scoring position. That's Christian Yelich. But with Solano, you can see why. He has, especially in these spots, runners on, runners in scoring position, very good at bats. He has the ability to shorten his swing. It's hard enough to hit a major league pitch, fastball, breaking ball, but to have the ability to hit it kind of where you want.
Well, I think the other reason that Yelich has had success, he has such a good knowledge of the strike zone too.
Back to the mound. That might be 2. Simmons in the dirt, and it kicks away. And Miami gets another run. Boy, that was tailor-made. And we just got through talking about Andrelton Simmons and the Gold Glove. That's a play that the young shortstop obviously would like to have back.
This is very un-Braves-like, the way they play. They usually make this play. Simmons had time. Tehran gave him a good throw. A little interference from Lomo, but not too bad. He just made a bad throw to first base, and Freeman couldn't pick it. Sometimes he does. So the Marlins capitalize and take the lead.
Solano gets the RBI with an assist from Morrison and from Simmons. And Miami is on top 3-2. Here's Echeverria. He swings and misses. 0-1. Rob Brantley on deck. Tehran delivers. It's a strike. Betty Ann in Fort White, Florida. Been a Braves fan since '81. I enjoy hearing you guys when the Marlins play the Braves. Since I live in North Florida now, on a night like this, I can't watch the Braves telecast. Thanks for being fair with the Braves, and I enjoy your humor. Thank you, Betty Ann.
We appreciate that, Betty Ann.
This is the type of season where you need a good sense of humor. Elliott Johnson makes the catch, and Miami answers Atlanta with 3 runs in the first. And their bat looks like a noodle. Now, no offense to Ed Lucas, but here's a look at Lucas's swing. This was the bloop single. Watch the bat.
And his hands.
Wow, he serves it into center. Now, watch Stanton. 114 miles an hour off the bat.
That is called hitting it on the screws, squaring it up, getting there on time.
Simmons is up right now. That 114, I'll bet you, is one of the hardest hit balls of the year. If you follow the Marlins, you know that Stanton's home run against Jamie Moyer, 122 miles an hour, is the hardest ball ever recorded off the bat. And they've been tracking exit speeds, 4 or 5 years, I believe.
This is an inning, by the way, that Tom Kohler now, once he's been given the lead, he has it back. He has to go out there and have a 1-2-3 inning, and he's fallen behind Simmons 3-0.
Those are striking. It's 3-1 now. The Braves used 3 consecutive hits. Freeman, a single with 2 outs, and then doubles by Gaddis and McCann to get on the board. And he walks him. So a 5-pitch walk after the Marlins come back to take the lead. And here's Elliott Johnson.
Got a tweet from Mary Beth, and I want to get this tweet out because I'm frustrated at that walk there. You just can't do that after you've just been handed a 1-run lead. But here's the tweet from Mary Beth. It's on a much lighter note. My favorite piece of in the ballpark is a photo of Cody Ross's son, and I know we're going to be going around all night with Allison, and I'm sure Allison, I hope she does, will stop by that photo that's in the ballpark. It's a great photo of Cody Ross's son.
Elliott Johnson had a hit last night, drove in a run, stole a bag. Finds himself at second base again tonight. We've seen him in a variety of spots already, not only in the field but in different uniform. He was in Kansas City when the Marlins were there.
So once again, no Dan Uggla in the lineup, who continues to struggle.
Uggla, Upton, the 2 guys that you referred to as big salary guys that aren't playing right now. Kohler misses outside. Mr. Dimples, friend of the show. Which Marlin do you expect to be on the offseason trading block, and who might the Marlins hope to get in return? I think the important part of that question is what do you get in return? Because the Marlins definitely have needs, and the needs are guys with bats in their hands that can hit. Whether it's a third baseman, a catcher. Obviously, the team is offensively challenged. They've been at the bottom of every statistical category in the National League from day one.
67 games, Rich, this year of scoring 2 runs or less.
So with that in mind, Mr. Dimples and Mr. Hutton, if you need that, and it's hard to, if you don't sign a huge free agent contract, and that didn't go well for the Marlins, the only way to get that is trade for it. Johnson smacks it into left field. Coughlin is there and he makes the catch.
Well, and the thing you have to remember, to get quality, you have to trade quality. So you're not going to trade a bullpen guy and all of a sudden get a everyday third baseman who can hit home runs. I mean, to get someone of quality, you have to trade a little quality.
And the Marlins have what is the most coveted thing in baseball, and that is good young pitching, and there's more on the way. They also have a lot of guys in the outfield. So I don't know that you can put your finger on one guy or 2 guys, but I think there are pieces there that the Marlins might be able to send somewhere to find someone who can hit. Thanks for joining the show, Mr. Dimples. Andrelton Simmons is now at second. Tomorrow night, it's Game 3, and Tommy, I know you know this, but just a reminder, kids eat free on Wednesday. Wednesday, September 11th, Marlins and Braves honor the heroes of 9/11 on First Responders Night. Kids eat free. We know that. All kids in attendance get a voucher for a KM Beef Frank, bag of Frito-Lay chips, and a Pepsi or Aquafina water. Get your tickets at marlins.com.
Kids can eat free while they watch Jose Fernandez make his last start of the year. First responders can sit and watch Jose Fernandez make his last start of the year and root him on for that Rookie of the Year.
I think you should write the promos. That's good. That's good writing there, Tommy Hutton. Schaefer now. Kohler going after him, trying to get through this inning and keep the Braves a run away. Oh, 2. Held on to by Brantley, and Kohler pitches around the leadoff walk. The Marlins up by a run. Get on the internet, head to Facebook, follow the game on Twitter, and we'll keep you up to date with the Marlins, all your other favorite Florida sports teams.
I like this tweet here, Rich. Senior Chief says, at the game tonight, first one in the new ballpark. What took so long, Senior? It's amazing and cool. Tell me if you read this tweet, please. Oh, we did.
Well, the Braves were all set up in this one. They came out, got 2 on the board. They had their young stud right-hander Julio Teheran pitching. Miami answered with 3 runs in the bottom of the first, bottom of the second. And still a 1-run Miami lead. Rob Brantley, and then Tom Kohler, and then Chris Coghlan. And Teheran misses away. Brantley last night 0 for 2, a couple strikeouts. Jeff Mathis caught a foul tip on his right thumb. Little tapper. Teheran pounces, gets the out. And Mathis right now is doubtful for the next few days.
And the tough part about that is that he's done such a great job in handling Jose Fernandez, who, as I mentioned, pitches tomorrow night. So there's an outside chance that Mathis could catch, but he might not. And we'll see who Mike Redmond chooses.
Marlins fan 27. How is bat speed calculated? It's actually exit speed, so it's the ball off the bat. It's the velocity off the bat. It's calculated in a similar fashion as the ball out of the hand of the pitcher. It's a simple radar gun reading. Sports Vision, with all the cameras around the park, they're the folks that do the Fox tracks and the exit speeds and all of that. So thanks to them.
They do everything but read the disclaimer.
Oh, I got to do that, huh? All right. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority. The Marlins may not be reproduced, retransmitted in any form. Accounts, descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Marlins.
With Coughlin coming up, Brian sends a tweet. He says, what are Coughlin's chances of making the team next year? And why not move him to third? First of all, I think his chances are great because he's showing versatility in the outfield at third base. And I think the question would be, when Brian asks why not move him to third, the question would be, could he play third base every day?
Not yet. And in talking to Mike Redmond, but that doesn't mean he's not going to work on it and see if he can.
Just because you can play there doesn't mean you can play a position every day. But as you have talked about, an offensive challenged lineup, if he hits, he'll get in the lineup somewhere.
And Mike Redmond said he's not overmatched against lefties. He can hit lefties too, which is another feather in his cap, so to speak. Coughlin swings and misses and strikes out. 9 pitch innings for Tehran. 3-2 game. Miami's up.
Of Marlins are outside Marlins ballpark as their fans make their way in. They see this scattering of orange and white letters, Claude, and at first it might not make a lot of sense, but these letters actually have a lot of significance.
Yeah, at the old Orange Bowl, there was a large sign that said Miami Orange Bowl, and what Daniel Arsham, who was the artist, wanted to create is when it was demolished, all these letters fell to the ground in different forms. Some were submerged in the ground, others stayed horizontal, and they all spell out Miami Orange Bowl, and people can really have a lot of fun with all the letters. And take pictures along the way.
Of course, the Orange Bowl home to so many significant professional and college games, and now home to the Miami Marlins. Guys.
Thank you, Allison. Allison had a great weekend this weekend, Tommy. Our Miami Hurricanes beat John Sulser's Florida Gators. So there's been a real interesting dynamic going.
She's really trying to hold back, rubbing it in, too. As you pointed out the other night, it's a divided truck.
It is.
Production truck.
It is. And of course, our director Jim Holley is on cloud 9 because the Lions won. Miraculously. That's right. Ken Lee, a big Hurricane fan as well. So the crack staff has got a variety of shirts and caps on come college football season. Tommy and I stay neutral.
Middle of the road. Stay down the middle.
Middle of the plate. Tom Kohler trying to avoid that against this guy, Justin Upton. Goes after a high fastball and a swing and a miss. And that's what Upton will do if you leave one out over. He'll hit it hard. So the Braves have a base runner, and as we pointed out, there isn't really a resting spot once you get to Upton in the 2 spot.
Well, Tom Kohler found that out in the first inning when he gave up the back-to-back hits. Marty has a good tweet. This is a good discussion question, Rich. Marty wants to know, how would you compare Dontrell's rookie season to Fernandez's rookie season? A little different because it was a better team. It's a better team. But the dominance of Jose Fernandez is much more than Dontrell Willis. Dontrell Willis went out 1 game.
Boy, Freeman just hits everything hard. He bangs that one into right field. 2 hard hit balls. Upton and Freeman open up the 3rd.
But the dominant numbers of Jose Fernandez, hitters hitting 046 on 0-2 counts, right-handers hitting 173 against him. I mean, you can go on and on. So I think that's where the biggest difference is.
And of course, tomorrow night is the last start for Jose Fernandez. Coverage starts right here at 6:30 on Fox, Florida. Now you got trouble here. You got Evan Gattis, who seems to be back on a rampage again. 2-run double last night. RBI double in the 1st. It is, and I know many of you have heard it before, but it is one of the most intriguing, interesting stories for a guy that is in the big leagues and performing like he is. And he just keeps killing the Marlins into center field. That's a base hit. Yelich's throw is late. El Oso Blanco. He was out of the game for 4 years, Tommy. He had issues with anxiety and alcohol. He went out. He was a ski lift operator. He worked at Yellowstone Park. He was a janitor, and then decided, you know, I kind of like baseball. I think I'll go back to it. Junior college, got drafted. 23rd round he got drafted. And now El Oso Blanco is on Phantom Cam.
Boy, it's a solid foundation and swing. No batting gloves for El Oso Blanco, and because of all of that delay, he's 27 years old.
He does not look like a guy that took 4 years off of the game.
No, this is a game where you just can't do that, and he's been able to come back. He had his down period. Talked about how he was hitting 139. He was 5 for 36 in the month of August. And that's why they sent him to AAA. The season was only 3 more games, but they wanted him to get in there every day.
It's amazing what 3 games in AAA will do for you. Yeah. Because he came back and he was the guy that was lighting things up in April and May.
I think he was like 6 for 11 in those 3 games.
You know, Kohler having some issues here. It's 3-0 to McCann. He's a pitch away from loading the bases in the National League batting leader is on deck. Green light, ground ball. Out there, Echeverria holds it. Braves at the corners with an out. A reminder that Thursday's game is a day game. It's a 12:40 start. It finishes the 4-game set. Visit your local Subway restaurant. Get a voucher for a discounted $5 ticket. All seniors 55 and older can receive complimentary tickets on Senior Ticket Thursdays. Presented by Wellmax Medical Center.
Good tweet from Loa wanting to know what will happen to Jose Fernandez after his final start. Will he stay with the team? Loa, right now, Jose is trying to see if he can be bat boy one game. Just help out, hang around. Yeah, he's going to be with the team. There's no question.
Well, you never know. He might need a pinch hitter late.
Extra inning game.
The way he's been swinging the bat. Chris Johnson flied to center. Chris Johnson was behind the batting cage visiting with some friends. I'm sure some folks from across the state. Stetson Star. Naples High School dumps it into right field. And he's got another hit. And the Braves have another run. They're back on top. 4-3 Atlanta.
Well, it's an interesting race because he has Michael Kadire a couple of points behind, but Chris Johnson just continues to keep getting base hits. Hey, Rich, Sam wants to know how did your presentation go today at Lynn University? Sam said his son Mitch is a sports management student there. How'd it go?
It was great. It was great to get to Lynn University. I've not been there before. It's up in Boca Raton. And the sports management group had a very large number of students and a lot of good questions. We had a fun time. Talked about broadcasting, about careers in sports. Told a few stories, a few lies, you know. I spent most of the time in my trailer.
Did you tell the kids that?
Yeah, I said.
You know, when you get to the ballpark.
I kept them waiting, you know. Rich is out in his trailer. He'll be in. And no. It was great. We had a good time. And I appreciate the invitation and would love to go back next year. Maybe I'll bring you next year.
All right.
You'd like that. You'd like the kids there. There's some really sharp baseball fans.
By the way, entering tonight's game, and here we are just in the third inning. Marlins starters over their last 3 games have gone just 11 innings, given up 15 runs and 23 hits. And once again, it looks like Mike Redmond's going to have to dip into the bullpen.
Boy, he had to dip in the bullpen last night. Brad Hand was sharp with 3 innings. Sam Dyson's probably the guy he said that would be his long man tonight. And we showed it last night. There's not only last night, but a group of games in which the Marlins have had short starts.
Looks like Dyson's getting ready.
Simmons fouls it back. Count stays at 0-2.
I'm not sure if this is pronounced Brer, B-R-E-R. That's a good question, Rich, one that you and I have asked each other often. When are you guys going to be represented in the Bobblehead Museum?
There's a pop-up. Solano calling.
I think we need a campaign.
Do we really want to be in the museum, though? I mean, that sounds like the end.
Hey, Jeff Conine's in the museum.
Yeah, good point. Hawks in there.
Hawks there.
All right. Well, if there are guys in there that are still around, then I'm okay. Not at the Wax Museum. Elliott Johnson's up. Braves still at first and second. Atlanta has a couple runs here in the third. It's a 4-3 lead for the first place Braves, who dominated the Marlins last year. They went 14-4 against the Marlins and have done a lot of damage this year against the Fish. Johnson, a switch hitter, swings and misses. 14-4 again. Well, 14-4 last year, 11-5 this year. With 3 to play, this one tomorrow night, Thursday afternoon. Grounder out toward short. Echeverria goes to first in time to get the out, but Atlanta reclaims the lead. 4 hits for the Braves in the third. There it is. I can see us in.
Yeah, right there.
There you go.
Español es presentado en SAP por Coventry Healthcare of Florida.
Well, you asked for it. There's a shot of Cody Ross.
See, Mary Beth wanted that picture.
Son sliding into the old home plate, and that's here at Marlins Park. Let's check in with Craig Minervini. Craig?
Well, thank you very much, Rich. This game tonight is being broadcast back to Colombia. Marcus Perez, Mike Schmolson are on the call over the internet. Of course, Julio Teheran from Colombia and Donovan Solano from Colombia. This is a big story back in Colombia.
No, it's not a big story. We have been doing that. It's a big story because we have 2 Colombians facing to each other. Teheran, which is going to be the 12th winner if he wins, and Solano, which is a very good guy for you guys here in Florida.
They've done over 100 games, the World Series and an All-Star game. But back home tonight, because you got 2 Colombians, this is a natural matchup.
Yes. We're very proud and I think that you deserve a better team with such a beautiful stadium that you have here.
We're getting better, Mike. We're getting better. Let me ask you this. How big is Major League Baseball in Colombia, and do you think there'll be more Colombians in the future in Major League Baseball?
At least we have one Colombia you'll never forget. Remember 1997?
You got the big hit for the Marlins.
Got a big hit for the Marlins, and he's a good guy. And maybe Solano will follow his footsteps, and I do believe that in the coming years, Colombian is going to be bringing more ball players to the States.
Are we seen, is our broadcast seen in Colombia?
Yes, when we are in the air, we usually take your picture because we are affiliated with Major League Baseball and we are affiliated with Fox. So you're part of Fox. Marlin Fox.
Porque está la supuesta, superpuesta las dos imágenes.
Listening in on Marcus's call here. Marcus said, if I walk down the street in Colombia, people would know who I am. I don't believe that.
El pitcher en la goma es Julito.
You know what we say, the girls over there in Colombia, which are the most beautiful women in the world? Hey, there he goes. This is the guy that usually is in the stands with the Marlins.
All right, enough of that. Guys, they're having a lot of fun here. Good to visit with them. Marcus Perez, Mike Schmolson, broadcasting back to Colombia tonight. Back to you.
By the way, Craig, I just checked on Orbitz. There's some good fares down to Bogota if you want to.
I'll look at it during the break, guys.
Here's Yelich with Giancarlo Stanton behind him. Fastball. Tehran misses away. Well, Tehran gave up the lead in the first. The Marlins were down 2-0. Miami got 3 runs against him. He went 1-2-3 in the second. Now the Braves have handed him the lead again.
Talking to Christian Yelich before the game, we were talking about the changeups that he faced from Chris Medlin last night. It was a good one, and he said Medlin and Tyler Clippard, 2 changeups he's seen this year that have been the best. All part of the learning experience.
There's a 3-2. Strike 3 called. Yelich was bending down to take off the guard on his leg. He thought it was ball 4.
I think Fox Tracks will back up Yelich's thought. I thought it was ball 4 as well. We'll see.
Yes, it was out.
Number 6 is way out. Pretty good knowledge of the strike zone.
For Yelich or Joe West?
For Yelich.
Breaking ball.
Not
Strike.
Joe West on that one. He'll miss a couple.
Everybody does. Joe's been around a long time, called a lot of balls and strikes. Giancarlo Stanton doubled in the first. Now here's one that brings a smile to my face. Tommy Patricia from Port St. Lucie. A belated thank you for putting together another great pledge pack this year. She got an autographed baseball as well and enjoyed the stuff. So Patricia, thanks for being involved in the fantasy auction and getting your pledge pack. Julio Tehran with a shutdown inning. 4-3 Atlanta.
beautiful ceramic mosaic, and it turns out there's a good reason why it is so prominently displayed right here at the entrance. What's the backstory behind this piece, Claude?
Allison, Joan Miro is Jeffrey Loria's favorite artist, and when we started the project in 2009, really at the infancy in month 1, Jeffrey brought to the entire design team an 8.5 by 11, which was basically a reproduction of that piece. And he told the design team, these are the 4 colors that I want to see in the ballpark. And the whole color theory behind the ballpark was born from that photo. That's why when you step behind home plate, you're in the blue quadrant, then you go to yellow, green, and red. And he wanted the same colors as close as possible to the yellow and the green as we see in the photo behind us. So it really was the inspiration for the whole ballpark.
The piece is called Figures, Mountain, Sky, Star, and Bird, and it is a big influence on what you see when the Marlins take the field and really throughout Marlins Park.
Thank you, Allison. Nice play by Tom Kohler to get Julio Teheran. 4th inning underway. Jordan Schaefer, Justin Upton coming up for Atlanta. On an email and Twitter Tuesday, we've been answering emails and tweets. Keep them coming. We hope to get to all of them. If we don't get to yours, please don't hold it against us. Mark in Tampa, what do you realistically think the Braves' chances are to advance to the World Series, or better, win it all? What part of their team should they be concerned about in a playoff atmosphere? Schaefer is out. Kohler a couple quick outs. Tommy, if you're looking at the Braves, and obviously they're headed to postseason, where do they need to be concerned? Where does Freddie Gonzalez have to feel good?
I think where he feels good, and we've seen a little bit of it with all the games the Marlins play the Braves, he feels good about his bullpen. And if you look at their rotation, they don't have that Clayton Kershaw #1 guy. They don't have that Zach Greinke #1 guy. But they have some solid pitchers. And if they can get 5-6 innings out of those guys, get to their bullpen, they're okay. I think one of their concerns is if the struggles continue for B.J. Upton and Dan Uggla, because those are 2 guys that can do a lot of things. And if they struggle and aren't even in the lineup, that's a concern. Another concern is, will they get a healthy Jason Hayward back? How will he be when he comes back?
Because he had started to solve their top of the order dilemma before he got hit by a pitch and broke his jaw.
And as Freddie Gonzalez told us yesterday, they've taken some of the hardware out of his mouth. He's doing some baseball activities.
Took batting practice for the first time. Kohler misses down low.
We always love it, Rich, because we admit we're not 100% all the time. Stephen letting us know that Chris Johnson went to Bishop Verrott High School in Fort Myers, not Naples High School.
Sorry about that. Does that mean he's no longer the pride of Naples?
No, that's okay.
All right.
Had one too, but definitely no on the Wax Museum thing. We don't want to scare the kids.
Those used to be popular. Those no longer are must see. Remember when you were a kid? Madame Tussauds?
Oh, yeah.
There was one in San Francisco that every now and then we would go to as kids. Scary.
And as you grew up, you went to other areas in San Francisco.
Great town. Upton getting a few moments of a courtesy by Joe West, the umpire, to go out and clean the plate, which was already clean. And it gives the hitter a chance to collect his thoughts and maybe the feeling to come back in his foot. That's what they call a professional courtesy.
Yeah, you'll see catchers do it with umpires. Umpires do it with hitters. Umpires will do it with catchers. So Joe West, because of his tenure, he certainly knows all those courtesies. There wasn't a courtesy extended to Miguel Cabrera last night, though, by Brian Gorman.
Breaking ball misses in. Upton walks. Jeremiah's been patient with his tweets and wants to know who will the number 5 starter be next year in the rotation. I think there are The number 5 spot certainly will be a competition. I think the number 4 spot will be a competition. I think for any of the young starters, the Braves are actually going to go out and look at Upton. Freddie Gonzalez is going to hustle out there along with one of the Braves trainers. When you go into a spring training, and the Marlins learned this year, you can never have enough pitching, and you can never be sure that all your pitching is going to come out of spring healthy.
Well, and we saw that with the spring, number 1, the poor spring of Jacob Turner, and the shoulder problems of Nathan Eovaldi and Henderson Alvarez.
Upton, and they're looking at the right knee.
There's a little limp there in his gait. So I agree with you. I think it's one of those up for grabs spots. We'll see if Brian Flynn get some opportunities in the spring.
Justin Upton is coming out of the ball game. You can see him coming up the line. Here's the ball that he fouled off, and it did glance right off that knee.
By the way, that ball 4 pitch looked pretty good.
Now that you saw it again?
Now that I saw it again.
Right
on that back knee, which is hard to do. You'll see guys foul balls off that front leg, the front knee, the front shin or ankle. Not too many times off that back knee.
Freeman's 2 for 2.
So Upton running for Upton.
BJ for Justin. And Kohler misses away. Havo. What are the chances the Marlins go all in and try to get Jose Abreu in the offseason? His pop is exactly what the Marlins need.
We have had that discussion, but from all the international scouts, people we've talked to, Jose Abreu has some pop, big left-handed hitter, but really is kind of an American League type guy. Slow of foot, first baseman all the way, DH. So that's, if you're a National League team, I don't think you're going to invest a whole lot of money in a Jose Abreu.
Yeah, that seems to be the consensus, is that he would be a better fit in the American League, where you could DH him and put him at first some. Man known as the Cuban Barry Bonds for some incredible years.
Yeah, but see, that gives the connotation that he can run and do a lot of other things. Barry Bonds could do all that stuff. I'm not buying that nickname.
It worked in Cuba. I mean, I can give you the numbers. They're pretty incredible. Of course, one of the interesting things about professional baseball in Cuba is it's a short season. It's a 95, 96 game season. Freeman swings and misses. And he strikes out. One of the Uptons is left out there at first. for great lease and finance deals on fuel-efficient Hondas. By Coventry Healthcare of Florida, lighting the way to better health. Marlins Park tonight, Cleveland Clinic 4-3, Atlanta on top. Julio Teheran settled down after a rough first inning. And he gets Logan Morrison, Donovan Solano, and Adeiny Echeverria. Now with the exit of Justin Upton, the Braves outfield shifts. Jordan Schaefer you see in right, and B.J. Upton now in center. Please adjust your scorecards accordingly.
Move your Uptons around.
That's right.
Now to Teheran's credit, after the Marlins put up that 3 spot in the bottom of the first inning, he's come back and retired 8 straight. So he's found a little bit of a groove.
Email from Mark in Rotterdam about tomorrow night's start with Jose Fernandez. In the unlikely case he gets knocked around tomorrow and leaves the game after 1 or 2 innings, will he get another start?
No.
And tomorrow's it. And the other thing, I think tomorrow, if he's 95 pitches in the 7th inning, the Marlins are going to give him some rope and let him go deeper. If he's got a shot at a complete game and he can get in under 125 pitches.
Hey, Mike Redmond talking the other day, had a no-hitter been on the line, he had a number of maybe 120 pitches, but had that occurred, then that would have been Jose's last start, period. And don't forget, he goes up against a good left-hander, Mike Minor. So it should be a great matchup tomorrow night.
Morrison, RBI single back in the first. Nice to know we still have fans in the Netherlands, Tommy. There's a great Brazilian steakhouse in Amsterdam right next to the Heineken Brewery. I would highly recommend it on your next trip there.
Always.
And the Haagen-Dazs ice cream is really good there.
Always looking for good places to eat.
3-2. Morrison fouls it back. John in Lauderhill. When a batter hits a walk-off home run, does he have to touch home plate? It seems like they often do not.
Oh, yeah.
They do.
They do.
That's why
they're watched closely. If you watch the home plate umpire, he'll stay there. Even though there's a large scrum of players, the umpire will stay there and watch that batter who hit the home run. Watch him touch the plate. I'm sure there are exceptions. What was the famous Chris Chambliss home run?
Up the middle.
Championship series, I believe, against Kansas City.
Oh, I think he still had to touch home plate.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, he may have had to, but I don't know if anybody was there to watch.
You're right. He knocked a few people over along the way. Well, Morrison, you saw the Braves had the shift on, and it worked perfectly. Lines it up the middle on a couple hops. Teheran gets an out.
See, we get people correcting us, and again, we're not experts. It's Bishop Verot in Naples and not Verrat. So, okay, thank you.
To make up for that, Tommy will sing the Bishop Verot fight song.
I like what Ms. Mambo has to say. Ms. Mambo says, can you guys please tell Giancarlo that when he's got 2 strikes, the next pitch will be a slider away.
We'll be sure to pass that along.
Are you going to, or should I?
I'll do it. I'll just say this is from Miss Mambo.
Yeah, okay.
Now, Tommy, you might know better by looking at the picture, the avatar on this tweet. Question, who caught Hank Aaron's 715th home run? And the tweet is from?
Well, the tweet is from the guy who caught it. Because he was in the bullpen.
Is that the guy? Is that Tom House?
The what do you call that again? Yeah, the
avatar, which is the picture.
All right, I'm learning. It doesn't look like the Tom House, but I could be wrong. Haven't seen him in a long time. But yeah, Tom House, left-handed pitcher, was a pitching coach for quite a while in the big leagues. Was in the bullpen and actually caught the ball hit by Henry Aaron.
Into right. Schaefer has it landed front. Looks like I don't think he would have caught it, but it does look like he kind of lost it a little bit in the lights as well. Solano has a base hit. Marlins have a runner. Here comes Echeverria.
First hit for the Marlins since that first inning. It breaks a little streak that Tehran was on. 9 in a row he had retired. We get tweets, we get emails, and every now and then one of our crack staff reporters checks in. And I have information for you, Rich, on Haagen-Dazs.
Yes.
That it's actually a made-up name, and it's made in an old seal test ice cream factory in the Bronx.
All I know is there was one.
It tastes good
in Amsterdam, and it was really good. Ron Brantley's on deck. Donovan Solano, the runner at first. And Echeverria with a count 2-0. Julio Tehran, 60 pitches in the bottom of the fourth. Atlanta with a 1-run lead. And a strike, and it's 2-1.
Tell you what, Tehran coming into this game was holding right-handers to a 199 average. Now left-handers hitting close to 300. That's an indication of the kind of breaking ball he has, kind of command he has.
Braves' top prospect for a couple of years, according to many publications. He is a rookie, though he made his major league debut all the way back in 2011. That one just sounded odd coming off the bat. And it's caught by Gaddis in left field.
Yeah, it didn't work out in 2012, and he went back to AAA. And even at AAA, Tehran last year had an ERA over 5. He was 7-9. But things have fallen into place for him this year.
The guy who tweeted us that is Tom House said, thanks for the shout out. I'm not the Tom House.
Yeah, I didn't think it looked like him. He'd be a little older.
But
the Tom House is about closer to my age.
And the Tom House, a pitching coach, and the guy that Had a lot of revolutionary training techniques.
He was the one, when he was with Texas, he incorporated pitchers throwing a football, because in order to throw, in his theory, a perfect spiral, you had to have perfect mechanics. And so you'd see the Texas Rangers pitchers out before the game, they'd all be throwing footballs around.
Brantley steps out. Counts 0-2 with 2 down.
Brantley trying to get his first base hit since rejoining the ball club.
Pulls that one foul. Stays at 0-2.
I think it'll be an interesting year next year for Rob Brantley, as he progresses in his catching skills and his hitting.
You know, on email and Twitter Tuesdays, we often get notes from Louis, who is a valued viewer. And Louis said, me and my broken down body will be making my first visit to Marlins Park tomorrow for Jose's last start.
Yeah, well, that's great, Louis. You should be here.
So Louis will be here tomorrow, and if Louis can make it out here, you can make it out here. Brantley strikes out. Tehran finishes the fish in the 4th, on to the 5th. We're back after this from Cleveland Clinic, Florida.
Hey guys, good to be back, and a lot of fun checking out some of the great artwork here in Marlins Park with Claude Delorme. We'll have more with him a little bit later, but for now we want to check in on Twitter and show you guys some of the artistic work we have found that it's Marlins themed from some of our fans. This is from Mike Cantwell. Check these out. Sent us actually a series of pictures like this, and I'm not sure how he did it, if he actually drew them himself or if he tweaked some photos or what. Either way, pretty impressive. Great shots there of a couple of rookies. And then also this one, which is kind of a throwback, but I'm a fan. Mike Piazza, 5 games as a Marlin, but obviously Chris was a very big fan, and he tweeted us this, which was actually drawn by his fiance 1 year for Christmas. That's from Chris F. Some Marlins art, and we will continue to feature more of the good artwork from fans. If you've got some you want to share, send it to us on Twitter at Fox Marlins. Use the hashtag Marlins art, or you can always email to us as well, and we'll get you on air, get you some love for your hard artwork, and we'll have more from the ballpark as well. Some really great pieces. One of my favorites is coming up in a little bit. You guys don't want to check it out. It's very large. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's very, very cool. We'll have that in just a bit.
All right, Allison, a jam shot. Evan Gattis rolls it to Ed Lucas. And the Marlins finally get Evan Gattis out. Tom Kohler figured he'd throw it right in on his hands. Gattis had driven in 2 runs, a double in the first, a single in the third. He's out to open up the 5th.
Well, that's good news anytime you can get Evan Gattis out on 1 pitch.
Now McCann, that had an odd sound to it, and McCann busted his bat. He's going to get a new one. Emails and tweets, some good ones tonight. Paul wants to know, after we look at Phantom Cam, this is the Gattis at bat. That's pretty cool. Paul wants to know, Tommy, how do Echeverria and Simmons stack up? They're kind of similar players.
They're similar. Simmons has shown better offense this year. 15 home runs, shown a little power. Defensive-wise, I'm sure if you watched Simmons all the time, you'd say he's better. But we watch Echeverria all the time defensively, and boy, he makes every play. But you'd have to give the edge to Simmons a little bit because he's hit better this year.
(3-1) is a strike. Thomas wants to know, is Simmons the front runner for the Platinum Glove? Rawlings a couple years ago started to give the Platinum Glove to the overall best defender in all of baseball. Yadier Molina has won it the first 2 years, and I don't know. I mean, Simmons is going to have to win a Gold Glove before he's eligible for the Platinum
Glove.
Glove.
That's right. It'd be hard to wrestle it away from Yadier Molina too,
figuratively and literally.
I don't know if he's going to have enough appearances, but Placido Polanco's in a little bit of a mix at third base. I heard a discussion the other day. Juan Uribe, who had a huge night for the Dodgers last night, hit 3 home runs for the Dodgers, but he's having a tremendous defensive year at third base.
Boy, it's amazing because Uribe, who signed that large 3-year contract coming off his postseason heroics with the Giants, Dodgers signed him to a 3-year deal, and he's awful the first 2 years. And suddenly last year, the contract, he's back to where he was.
Early in the year, Uribe wasn't even their third baseman. That was kind of a question mark, but he's answered that question.
Chris Johnson, regardless of where he went to high school, just keeps on hitting. He's 2 for 3 is this National League batting leader. Now for the Just for Men mustache beard, play like a champ profile. Craig Kimbrell, Marlins hopeful they don't have to see him tonight, but they saw him last night, and he was outstanding. Kimbrell came in a 1-2-3 night. 35 consecutive saves, longest current in Major League Baseball.
Rich, for Chris Johnson, that's his 46th multi-hit game.
Here is Andrelton Simmons, and he pulls one foul.
Kind of an interesting hitter is Andrelton Simmons. We talked about the 15 home runs. He's at 249, right around 250. He's only struck out 47 times. He's only walked 34 times. So he generally puts it in play.
There was a question earlier about Jose Abreu, who was defected from the Cuban national team, the big slugging first baseman. Simmons himself may be responsible for a lack of Cuban players coming out this year, because his 2-run homer in the 8th inning in an elimination game against Cuba tied the game. The Netherlands went on to eliminate Cuba and keep Cuba from coming to San Francisco, and the word was if the Cubans got to San Francisco, there would have been more players that would have defected. They were unable to do so in Japan. So that home run had some repercussions. Bouncer to third, Lucas Solano. Nice scoop by Morrison to get the double play. 5-4-3 on the double play. Tom Kohler has straightened up and hung in there. It's a 1-run game still. The Marlins. The next Corona Light Marlins watch party is next Friday the 13th in Kendall. Marlins will be opening that 4-game series up in New York against the Mets at 7:10. Prizes, tickets to upcoming games. Billy and the Energy Team. One of these days, Billy will be in the Energy Team, Tommy. Enjoy great wings and Corona Light specials at Sports Grill in Kendall. For more information, go to marlins.com.
Well, Juan Pierre is going to pinch hit. We've talked about where he stands amongst the greats and closing in on Joe DiMaggio. And the other thing that JP's done, his last 6 pinch hit appearances, he's 4 for 6. So he's been able to get some base hits off the bench. I would love Rich to see on that last homestand, be it against the Phillies or the Tigers. I'd love to see Juan Pierre get a start or two, pass that number, get a nice ovation from the crowd, who has certainly appreciated Juan Pierre over the years.
Pierre swings and misses. This was something we talked about the other night, but it bears discussing again. Joel from Australia, Adelaide, Australia, wondering if Juan Pierre is going to play next year, and if not, do you think the Marlins would offer him a coaching role?
You know, I think just in my conversations with Juan Pierre, and then this is my opinion, he didn't give anything definite. I think if there's a team that's interested in him in the spring and he goes to spring training, I think he would like to play. But I think if there is no interest, he's perfectly content to stay home. He has a young family, and maybe someday get into coaching, but not right away. And I think he'd be content with that.
I would say this, though, along those lines, if no one comes calling and he does retire, I could see him as being a spring training
absolutely
coach, or a guy that works with guys just up in Jupiter.
Hey, give him the key. He'd be the first one there, too.
Chris Coughlin now against Julio Teheran in the bottom of the 5th. We have emails and tweets from people of all ages, all sizes. Manuel from Miami. I am 7 years old. My mom is typing this for me. Why is Jose Fernandez, my favorite pitcher, only allowed to pitch a maximum of 6 innings? He should pitch for the full game. And say hi to my abuelo, Daniel. So even the 7-year-olds want Jose to go deeper in games. And he has gone deeper than just 6.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. He's thrown more innings and done a whole lot more than anybody expected when the season began.
Zach Phillips in the bullpen.
I mean, we've talked about it. He was on his way to Double-A, having pitched in A-ball last year. But with a couple of injuries, with the poor Jacob Turner spring.
Cholula Hot Sauce Spotlight player. Last night 4 for 4, 7th 4-hit game. He's the only Marlin with 2 4-hit games this year. Look what he's done against the Braves.
That's always a good sign, because you know over the years the Braves are always going to come at you with some good pitching. And Chris Coughlin came into this game 379 career average against Atlanta. And that's with that's a pretty good sample size, about 125 at bats. That's gone down a little bit tonight with an 0 for 2.
Greg in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Or Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I'm going to cover all the bases.
Because we will get tweets and emails.
Marlins clearly need more power in their lineup next year. Who do you think the Marlins might target in the offseason? And will Colin Moran be up sooner rather than later?
You know, you're talking about a kid right out of college, and Colin Moran, who finished his college career in North Carolina and has played A-ball, low A-ball. And you want to see a little bit more. I mean, years ago, they used to say, and this is when there were a lot of minor league teams, and it was hard to break into the big leagues. They used to say, I'd like to see a young player get 2,500 at bats in the minor leagues. Then you'd have a pretty good idea of what kind of hitter he was going to be up here.
Coughlin pulls a ground ball on the outfield grass. Elliott Johnson gathers it in. Moran finished at 299 in A-ball this year. FP&L brings you the scoreboard. Let's see what's cooking. Nationals up 3-1. Well, the Reds have all that momentum coming off the sweep of the Dodgers, and they're getting beat by the Cubs again. Cubs beat them last night. Cardinals at home against Milwaukee. The Pirates are in an interesting series.
Hey, the Reds can't score. They were shut out 2-0 last night by the Cubs.
Lucas hits a pop-up. And out for it there is Simmons, who makes the catch. Tell you about the Pirates and catch up on the National League Central when we return. It's a 1-run lead for the Braves.
Coughlin's played a little left, right field, third base since his return September 1st from the injury. And Chris put into perspective what these final 20 games mean to him going forward.
For me individually, every game, they're evaluating me. And so I don't take any game lightly. I mean, I'm not counting the days down, even as bad as it's been here. For me, it's a tryout every day. It's a tryout at a new position. It's a tryout at a new time in the lineup. I don't know what my future holds, and there's good in that, and then that you're able to take every game seriously.
The guy's probably not what Chris Coughlin expected at this point in his career after how he busted out with the Rookie of the Year there in 2009, but he said yes, he was humbled a little bit, and yes, he lost some confidence. He said it's natural when you're not having success, but with the knee, he said, came a change in his stance. He's been able to look at it, analyze it, make some changes to try and get a more consistent swing, and he says he's back mentally feeling that great comfort again, and he's starting to have success, and you could see it when you watch him. He talked to the media today for 5 or 10 minutes, very inspirational, driving type stuff, and as you just heard, he looks at this as a tryout, and probably a lot of other guys in his team should do the same.
That's a great point. And Coughlin would know he's faced as much adversity in his career as many guys have in a long 15, 20-year career, just in the short 5 seasons.
That's a great point by Chris and a great point by Craig. There are a lot of guys. Everybody should approach these last few weeks this way. Zach Phillips. He's had a little big league time. He was up with Baltimore a couple of times. We spent most of the year this year in New Orleans and put up some good numbers, and also had some good numbers against left-handed hitters too.
Pitched at a great junior college, Sacramento City Junior College, a Sacramento native. Would make our old friend Buck Martinez proud. He was a Sac City guy. John Tuitu, ladies and gentlemen. Award-winning cameraman, also friend to all who sit in the front row.
He may be wearing a Sacramento City College T-shirt.
He's sporting the UCLA Bruins.
He's got the Bruins. That's for Jeff Conine.
Here's the 1-1. Ground ball, diving, sprawling, and Lucas stopped it, but he couldn't control it in time to get Elliott Johnson, who has his first hit of the night. Leadoff runner aboard for the Braves here in the 6th.
There's the stop. It just came out of the glove, and he couldn't get to it fast enough. No. They're calling that an error? Don't change it. It's a base hit all the way.
That's a base hit.
That's a base hit. You got to be kidding me.
I didn't even think about that as an error. I wrote that down as a hit right away.
Yeah, when you think about it once in a while, then okay, maybe you have a. But yeah, didn't even think about it. Wrote hit down. Tehran dropped down a sac bunt in the 2nd inning, trying to do the same here.
Tehran looking down at 3rd. If you've just joined us, one down note for the Braves in this ball game is that Justin Upton fouled a pitch off of his knee and came out of the ball game. He finished the at bat, and when he jogged down to 1st, Freddie Gonzalez became concerned, went out, he was examined, and left the game. There's the bunt. Brantley picks it up and goes to 1st to get the out. So Tehran pushes the runner up to 2nd. We're going to talk about the Central in Pittsburgh. While the Cardinals are hot and St. Louis is still up by a game in the Central, St. Louis with Pittsburgh behind it. Pittsburgh is in Texas taking on the Texas Rangers, who themselves are in a real race with Oakland in the West of the American League. So that's a real interesting interleague matchup in the middle of September, in the middle of a couple different races. Texas is 2 games behind Oakland in the West. And as mentioned, Pittsburgh a game back behind St. Louis. St. Louis scoreless against Milwaukee in the 3rd.
And they had a heck of a game in Arlington last night.
Yeah, 1-0 ball game.
And for Pittsburgh, their 82nd win.
You mentioned it last night. Clint Hurdle has been pretty adamant from day one. They aren't fixated on a winning season. They're fixated on postseason. It looks like they're headed in that direction, but Hurdle and the rest of the Pirates would like to be the division winners so they don't have to play in that 1-game wild card game. Nationals are beating the Mets 4-1. Let's see if Worth is homered. Or Zimmerman.
Worth and LaRoche have homered.
Schaefer swings.
This is where it's been a real struggle for Jordan Schaefer. Just 3 hits in 26 ABs against left-handers.
And, okay, if you're the Braves, then at that point you'd say, all right, well, let's play B.J. Upton against the lefties and Schaefer against the righties. But Upton has scuffled as well. Yeah, Worth is 23rd, LaRoche is 19th. Both off of Dylan G. 1-2 coming. And Phillips gets the strikeout. 92-mile-an-hour fastball.
Now, we mentioned lefties hit just 176 against Phillips in AAA this year.
Sports and Highlight Show you've been waiting for. Fox Sports Live. Jay Onright, Dan O'Toole, joined by Donovan McNabb, Gary Payton, Andy Roddick, Carissa Thompson. Everything you need to know about the world of sports. Fox Sports Live nightly on Fox Sports 1.
Jeff tweets a question for us. Rich says, I was born and raised in West Palm Beach, spring training home a long time of the Atlanta Braves. I'm a Braves fan, but root for the Marlins. Who should I love more?
Your significant other.
I say unless you move up to Atlanta, the Marlins. Get over it. They left West Palm Beach. They're in Orlando now.
B.J. Upton's first at bat. B.J. came in for Justin and pinch ran for him in the 4th.
Sorry, Jeff. Just a little rant there.
Speaking of a little rant, Scott in Lauderhill. I enjoyed the good-natured ribbing about Harry Carey and how he might have trouble with the current Cubs roster and pronunciation. Any way you could put together a reel of his best attempts at players' names? We have that on the 10-run reel. It's the Hideki Arabu game. You guys have made this an enjoyable broadcast to watch during the season. Tommy, are you saving up a special rant for the last week of the season, or maybe the closing weekend of the season?
It's not really good to rant the last week of the season. I mean, that's there are other times. My early rant is starting pitchers. When are they going to go longer than 4 or 5 innings and give Mike Redmond a few things to think about, except calling the bullpen in the 3rd inning? I mean, he's going to expect to get 4 more innings out of his bullpen tonight. We got all these methods to get pitchers stronger, to watch their pitch counts, to build them up. But we don't have guys that can go 6 or 7 innings. Where are they? That's my rant.
I really think that should be a part of the show nightly. And much like Andy Rooney used to sign off get Tommy Hutton's rant. That's a trouble ball in right center. A sliding catch by Yelich. How about that? Any questions as to whether he can play center?
No rant there. Christian Yelich can play center field.
He robs B.J. Upton of a hit. It's still a one-run game in Miami.
Rather small, including the manager, located here on the promenade level. What can you tell us, Claude, about this piece of art?
This artist, his name is Roy Lichtenstein, internationally known and known for really comic strip depictions. And a lot of his works have that type of finish, and we're really pleased to have him featured on the third base side.
I think that Lichtenstein there, the manager, looks alarmed, Tommy, don't you think? Almost like his team just missed a cutoff man, or somebody missed a hit and run sign.
He may have captured the situation at hand. Hey, Habbo said, come on, you guys, that's an error. These are big league players. Well, we disagree.
See, doesn't the manager look like perplexed? I didn't give it a hit and run.
Yeah.
Why can't we bunt? The crack staff feels that the painting actually has a resemblance to Ted Williams.
It does a little bit.
And I think Ted Williams was perplexed for much of the time that he was a manager.
And those bad Texas Rangers.
Yes. Fastball misses up. And it counts 1-2 to Yelich, who made the sliding catch. And as always in baseball, you make the great play, you get to lead off.
I think Yelich is giving the organization a nice sample size. The amount of at-bats he has, he'll probably go over 200 at-bats at the major league level, which is a pretty good little sample size. And it also has been an opportunity for him to learn.
Yelich bangs one to center. B.J. Upton runs it down. One out here in the sixth. Any Wednesday Marlins game and tomorrow night certainly qualifies. You can save up to 60% with the Chevron Crazy 8 ticket offer. So tomorrow, just fill up at a participating Chevron and you get $8 home run porch or $18 home plate box tickets. And of course, tomorrow night is Jose Fernandez's last start. So what a deal that is. Visit your local Chevron or Marlins.com/Chevron for details. Stanton takes in. Mike Dunn in Miami's bullpen. Matthias has a tweet. Is it true that the Marlins will start the season next year at home against the Rockies?
That is true. Had some tweets earlier, I can't remember the names, but people were complaining about the schedule for 2014. We have nothing to do with that. It's just the way it is.
If you're looking for next year's schedule, it's out. It was just released, and it's at marlins.com right now. So go to marlins.com, click on schedule, and obviously find the 2014 version. Away you go. Jacob wants to know, hey, how about a Justin Upton update? We haven't heard anything yet.
We have not.
We'll
check in between innings. We'll go over and check with our friends Chip Carey and Joe Simpson.
Nothing from the Braves folks. So the Braves production truck and broadcasters have yet to receive word. We got a follow-up tweet from Louie about tomorrow night. You guys are awesome. That's right! Exclamation point. If my disabled veteran body can come out, everyone can come out for the Rookie of the Year. That's tomorrow night. Louie, one of our best emailers, is making it out to his first game despite some physical difficulties. He'll be here tomorrow night. Louie, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow night.
I'll tell you what, Rich, I'm going to make a deal with you. You've kind of slacked off a few starts. Well, I'm going to go out and get us a Cuban sandwich tomorrow night.
One last time.
One last time. We'll split it. They're pretty good size.
The 1-2. And I think Morrison went, and he knew it.
And the reason that I'm going to go out and get us a Cuban sandwiches is because they quit bringing them to us.
There's that, too. So here's Solano. Sends one to left. Gaddis a late start, and it pops right out of his glove. On his way to third is Stanton. He'll get there, and Miami is set up at the corners. In all fairness to Gaddis, he's a guy who's not that skilled as an outfielder, and you can see it. This is a ballpark that'll expose that with all the room out there.
Now, this, I do agree, is an error. And you're right. He's a guy that in a smaller ballpark is going to be much more comfortable playing in the outfield. But a lot of room for him to cover. He got there, should have caught it. And it'll be E7.
But you can see when you don't hit a baseball square how much vibration you get down the bat into the hands.
Yeah, when you watch those replays, it's one thing to watch the barrel of the bat. The other thing to try to focus on are the hands, the hitter's hands.
Echeverria climbs in. Tehran is at 96 pitches. Swing and a miss. And it's 0-1. But by the way, that is true. And what a nice stroke of scheduling to have a team that plays in Denver open the season in Miami. They got it right, Tom.
Better we open here than on the road. Could be snowing in Denver.
Without a doubt. Now, I haven't even looked at the schedule, so I know you've taken a peek at it. Marlins go to Houston. They go to Anaheim.
Go to Texas, play the Rangers.
That baseball's popped up, and Chris Johnson's there. And he makes the catch. Marlins leave a couple. Tehran gets through 6, holding on to a 1-run lead. Showtime tomorrow night is 6:30 for Marlins Live. Jose Fernandez throws the first pitch. Not the ceremonial one, but the real one. It'll be about 97 miles an hour, I would expect. That around 7 o'clock. Zach Phillips continues on for the Fish. His second inning in a ball game that opened with runs has calmed down since and has stayed a 1-run game. Freddie Freeman is up. We just received word that Justin Upton has a bruised right knee and is listed as day-to-day.
Well, they certainly want to take care of that and don't want any problems with that. Good job by Phillips last inning. Gave up just an infield hit. Well, no, it was an error, but I still have it as an infield hit.
Phillips with a fastball that misses in. A.J. Ramos in Miami's bullpen.
Orioles trying to make it 2 in a row over the Yankees. Have a 4-3 lead in the 7th inning. Chris Davis, home run number 49 on the year.
Wow. All right, is Freddie Freeman a legitimate National League MVP candidate? Tommy and I have both voted yes. And everybody else seems to agree, it looks like. Phillips loses Freddie Freeman. Evan Gattis now. Then you got McCann and then Johnson. Mike Redmond not going to wait another hitter. He's going to make a defensive switch and go to the bullpen. Donovan Solano comes out. Placido Polanco comes in. And here comes Ramos. Metro PCS call to the pen.
Remind me.
With the Marlins double switch, Lucas pushed across the infield. Polanco enters the ball game. Polanco will hit in the 9 spot.
I have to get to this tweet, Rich. Minecraft PE. You've got to listen. I hope if you're in school, you'll listen better than you listen to us. But the question is, did you say Yelich should get only 200 at-bats in his career? No. I said he'll probably get about 200 at-bats this season. Never was the word career incorporated in that statement.
It's all right, though. Hey, just glad we could clarify it. So Ramos in. Gattis is waiting. Gattis is 2 more RBI hits in this one. RBI double, RBI single. There was a time, early in the year where Gattis was the guy who looked like the leader in the clubhouse for Rookie of the Year after the month of May. Our Toyota trend. Each of the last 10 games here at Marlins Park, the Braves have at least one double, 3 in the last 4. That one goes off the glove of Brantley. A swing and a miss from Gattis.
I would expect a pass ball. I've come to not anticipate, though, a lot.
One Tapper to short. Echeverria gets the out. That's a good anticipation and good hustle by Freeman, who was not the fleetest of foot, but you can see has good instincts.
Great lesson for kids there. If you don't have blazing speed, you can still be a good base runner. And Freddie Freeman saw that slow chopper. If the ball was hit hard, he has to stay at second. But because it was that slow chopper, he was able to get over to third. Now the infield has to come in.
McCann RBI double, bounced into a fielder's choice and walked. And the schedule is out. The Marlins open up against the Rockies. And for the Marlins and the Rockies, it's a 4-game series. They open up on the 31st of March. On a Monday. But rarely do you see an opening series of 4 games. 4 against the Rockies, 3 against the Padres.
How about that? Open up against 2 teams from the West.
And then the Marlins go on the road to Washington, then to Philly, come home to play the Nationals, and then the Seattle Mariners come in for a 3-game series. Road series against the Braves and the Mets follow. Home series against the Braves rounds out April. McCann trying to drive in this run with the infield in. 1-run game, 1 out in the 7th. May opens with the Dodgers here, and the Mets coming. Marlins have a monster West Coast trip in May. 4 games in San Diego, 3 in Los Angeles, 4 in San Francisco.
A lot of fish tacos.
That's 15 pounds with in-out burger, fish tacos.
That's a tough trip, yeah.
And San Francisco's
you can go Italian, sushi,
whatever you want.
Yeah.
McCann battling, counts 1 and 2. And Ramos elevates a fastball, strikes out McCann.
Very good pitching by A.J. Ramos. Not an easy batter to strike out. And he gets that fastball up and gets it by Brian McCann.
Chris Johnson 2 for 3. Batting average .331 now. Marlins have the 2 at home and 2 on the road against the Rays. Have 2 on the road against the Rangers. The Oakland Athletics are coming to town, Tommy Hutt. End of June. Up the middle, Lucas makes the play. And Ramos leaves that runner at third.
come and see for yourself in person. It's called Baseball in Motion because it is literally that, Marlins history put into motion. And I know this is like your pride and joy, right, Claude?
Yeah, I think I tired everyone out from Jeffrey and David. They had sympathy for me, so they said, well, let him have it. But, yeah, the artist is Dominic Pangborn. Met him at an art show, and we decided to incorporate our historic moments in the front of the franchise into this piece. And it's located on the promenade level, third base side. So as you're walking towards it, it does a 3D feature, and it opens like a deck of cards. It's really neat. And for those who have started drinking, it probably will force you to stop drinking. But very interactive, and encourage all fans to drop by the third base side and live the experience.
Yes, it's right behind the Miccosukee pole. So when you walk by, look up. It might trip you out a little bit, but don't worry. It is meant to do that kind of an optical illusion, but really a great piece of art here, guys.
Thank you, Allison. Been an interesting tour around the ballpark tonight for A-Dub. On email Twitter Tuesday, Rob Brantley, who in this one is 0 for 2. He's 0 for 4 in the series. Julio Teheran, 1 pitch, 1 out. Braves bullpen is busy as Teheran ventures into the 7th. 100 pitches in for the rookie right-hander.
Well, there are guys that Freddie likes to use this part of the game. The left-hander Luis Avilan, the right-hander Luis Ayala. So I'm sure he would like to see Teheran have a low pitch inning, and he's helped himself out with the 1 pitch to get 1 out.
Polanco now. His first at bat since coming in the double switch. Miami got 3 runs in the first, and that's it. Braves 2 in the first, and then 2 in the third. B.J. Upton makes the catch. B.J. Upton didn't start the game. His brother got the start, fouled one off his knee, his day-to-day with a bruised right knee, and B.J. came in. Has been out center field.
So a couple of quick outs for Teheran. Sure, the gentleman broadcasting the game back to Colombia and enjoying seeing the performance of the 22-year-old out of Cartagena.
If you missed that part of the telecast, you missed the interview by Craig, Colombian broadcasters, who informed Craig that Craig is a popular figure in Colombia among baseball fans that watch Marlins telecast, albeit I believe they indicated that the call of the game is made by the Colombian announcers probably back in Colombia, but Craig's face pops up often, and so I smell road trip. You know, possibly an inside the Marlins.
Yeah, Craig and Frank could go down there. Yeah,
sort of like a Colombian adventure, like Martin and Lewis, Frank and Craig,
Bill and Ted.
Yeah. Big window of opportunity. 1-2 to Coglin. Full count. Lucas waits on deck. Coglin tonight at 0 for 3 after going 4 for 4 last night. Check swing, tosses the bat on his way to first. See, that was a nice sell job by Coglin. He got rid of the evidence right away.
So if they ask the third base umpire, Rob Drake could go, I don't know, I don't see it. They get rid of it there. because actually with what he did, we've seen that called a strike.
All right, Phantom Cam sees all. Umpires don't get Phantom Cam. Only you at home do. So I think Coughlin probably went around, but he sold it well. Bought himself a walk. And that is a good example of what Coughlin told Craig Minervini. He's not taking anything for granted. Not any game, any at bat, or any pitch. So we went through the highlights of the schedule for next year. Marlins go to Anaheim, Oakland and Seattle coming here. Marlins go to Houston and go to Texas. Yeah, that's one of the things I don't get. Why can't the Marlins go play Houston and then play Texas?
And Texas. That would make sense. It'll seem odd going to Houston and playing them as an American League team. We'll see our good friend Bo Porter. I would trust Bo will be back next year.
Well, you've got John Maley, who's the hitting coach. Eduardo Perez.
Matt Dominguez.
Eduardo Perez is the bench coach. And you're right, Dominguez is there.
And will probably stay at the beautiful Galleria.
Lucas bangs it into left. And so Miami has put themselves in a spot here in the 7th. And a decision for Freddie Gonzalez, and he's going to go to the bullpen. With Tehran giving up the hit to Lucas and the lefty Yelich coming up. Freddie's going to go to the pen and get a lefty. Metro PCS called to the pen. Last chance to put a signature moment on what has been an incredible rookie year and possibly a rookie of the year campaign. 2 outs, bottom 7. Miami with runners first and second. And with Yelich up, Luis Avilan takes over for Julio Tehran.
Tough assignment for Christian Yelich. Tremendous numbers for Luis Avilan.
And a strike, it's 1-1.
Kind of slings the ball, gives you a different look as a hitter, especially a left-handed hitter.
Yelich faced Avilan last night. Avilan struck him out. Little flare, and it's foul. Hits per 9 inning in relief. Avilan at the low end of that list.
Look at the guy on top of that list.
Look at the second guy out there, Miami's Paco Rodriguez. But yeah, Tyler Clipper, Marlins see him every night.
Saw the good fastballs and a big curveball from Avilan. He really picked up the slack, especially when O'Flaherty and Venters went down with injuries, the two left-handers.
As you pointed out, Scott Downs is hurt right now for the Braves. Yelich pokes it foul. A couple other wrinkles in the schedule next year. Remember an Australia trip for the Dodgers and Diamondbacks.
Yeah, how about that? The season opens with the Dodgers playing the Diamondbacks in Australia.
And Major League Baseball returns to Montreal for some games in March.
Hope they've gotten a little of that must out of Olympic Stadium.
Well, Australia's Sydney Cricket Ground is going to play host to the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks.
They'll certainly have to get it ready and up to Major League standards.
They'll play a pair of games in Sydney on the 22nd and the 23rd of March. They hit him. Yelich gets hit, and that's going to bring Stanton up, and it probably will bring Freddie Gonzalez back out to get a right-hander. So the bags are loaded. A mistake by Avilan. Stanton with the bags loaded and a righty coming in. Metro PCS called to the pen. And the Marlins slugger, Giancarlo Stanton, is coming up. Next man in, Luis Ayala.
Well, you knew that Freddie Gonzalez would make this move, that Avilan was in to face the lefty, and he let one get away from him to hit Yelich, load the bases. Now we get this Ayala-Stanton matchup.
Stanton RBI double, strikeout, walk. 4 grand slams in his career. It's a 1-run game. And a strike. Breaking ball for a strike. It all started with 2 outs, a walk to Conklin, a single by Lucas. Yelich was hit by Avilan. Ayala replaces him. Stanton took a shot at a pitch on the outside part. 0-2.
He's going to try to stay away. The only way Ayala would go in is if he showed a pitch and missed inside, but here's that situation where he's been seeing a lot of sliders off the plate.
By the way, Tommy, just to finish the Montreal discussion, the Mets and the Blue Jays are expected to officially announce they will play a pair of exhibition games in late March. Not the Nationals, not the old Expos. Blue Jays, Mets. Oh, 2. Got him. Came inside. Stanton strikes out. And the Marlins leave him loaded. Still in Miami tonight, the Braves are a run better than the Marlins.
Well, that guy, Evan Gattis, with a big base hit, an RBI double in the first inning. 3rd hit in a row now for the Braves. This an RBI double by Brian McCann. But the bottom half, the Marlins come back. They actually take the lead. They tie it on this double off the bat of Giancarlo Stanton. Logan Morrison then tied it. And how about the Marlins taking the lead on a fielder's choice? Simmons not getting the throw over to first base, but in the 3rd inning, Gattis again. Ground ball base hit up the middle. And this one put the Braves ahead. Chris Johnson has a 2-hit night going. RBI base hit for him. That last AB for our folks who have emailed and tweeted us. Remember that one person said that, gee, every time Stanton gets 2 strikes, he gets a slider away. Not every time. Good two-seamer by Ayala tied up Giancarlo. That's a perfect pitch.
Chad Qualls, Andrelton Simmons, that matchup opens up the 8th. Derek and Davey, with all the Rookie of the Year talk, which team, since the Marlins became an official Major League team, so that's 93, which team has had the most Rookies of the Year? That's a crack staff assignment if I've ever heard
Yeah,
of it.
I mean, we're trying to broadcast, keep score, check the Twitter account, check the emails. We could throw out a couple of names, but I mean, the Marlins have had a few.
The Dodgers had 5 in a row in the 90s.
From 92 through 96.
Eric Karros, Mike Piazza,
Mondesi.
Yeah, Mondesi. I saw him come through the
Todd
minor leagues.
Hollinsworth.
We just saw Todd Hollinsworth in Chicago.
Hollinsworth, a member of the 03 championship team here.
Marlins have had 3. Polanco skips across and gets Simmons for the first out. So on the surface, you can count, what, 4 of the 5 Dodgers,
Yeah,
right?
you wouldn't think that anybody had more than the Dodgers.
David Carpenter in the bullpen. And the Dodgers have been, we feel confident enough.
Have they been declared the winner?
In the exit polls to say that the Dodgers have been declared the winner. In the center, a base hit for Elliott Johnson, who just keeps playing hard and getting hits. I mean, here's the odd thing. When the Marlins saw Elliott Johnson in Kansas City, he was in an awful slump and getting booed in a hospitable place like Kansas City. And now, if the postseason started today, Tommy, Elliott Johnson's in the starting lineup for the Braves.
Can you imagine what Kansas City fans would be saying? That's the first hit, by the way, that the Marlins bullpen has allowed in this series. Joey Turdoslavich.
You know where Turdoslavich went to high school, Tommy?
Nah, but wherever he did, he probably took a lot of heat for his name, though.
Sarasota High School. He's a Sarasota guy.
All right. Better get the high school right, though.
I know.
Will be corrected.
The Chris Johnson.
You know, he's a guy who could be on their postseason roster.
Runners
too.
on the move. Brantley's throw, not in time. Elliott Johnson does it all. Impersonations, hits, stolen bases, defense.
Well, he's one of those players who is a heads-up player. He saw that he could get a good jump, which he did, off Chad Qualls, and Brantley had no chance.
Turdoslavich takes outside.
Yeah, when they make up their postseason roster, guy like Trdoslavich, a switch hitter, he's got a chance to be on that roster. And then again, a lot of it depends on the health of others. Most importantly, Jason Hayward.
That's a big piece for the Braves. I mean, unless Ugla or Upton pull out of what has been a real struggle. Two one. Checking in on the games we were following, the Pirates lead Texas 4-1 as they try to chase down the Cardinals, who are scoreless against Milwaukee in St. Louis in the bottom of the 6th. And the Reds just can't score again. 7-0 Chicago in the 7th in Cincinnati.
See who's done a little damage for the Cubs. Trdoslavich is a strikeout victim. Little backdoor slider.
It's a strike.
Just got there. Donnie Murphy, home run number 10, has 3 RBIs in that game. Yeah, Francisco Liriano pitching well for the Pirates tonight. Once again, McCutchen has a couple of hits, a couple of RBIs.
The funny thing is the Reds can't score, but Joey Votto continues to hit. He's 2 for 3. He's pulled out of that slump.
Well, going against the left-hander, Mike Redmond decides to have Qualls walk Schaefer and throw to B.J. Upton.
Well, the reason that Upton is in the ballgame is because Justin Upton fouled this one off his knee. Phantom cam shows you just how odd a play that is. It's tough to do that, but he had the right angle, and man, did that hurt. He went down to first and then came out of the ballgame. Bruised right knee, listed as day-to-day. So Qualls against B.J. Upton. Now, B.J. Upton has struggled, but he had a night against the Marlins in Atlanta.
Yeah, I believe a 4-hit game. At that time, I know the Braves were thinking, okay, he's starting to come out of it, but then he went back in the other direction.
Including a 2-run homer in a 5-4 Atlanta win on that 4-hit night.
If I remember, drove a few balls well the other way, which always is a good sign. But 2 outs and runners in scoring position has not been a comfortable place.
When you've got 2 guys who combined are making what, about close to $25 million together.
Yeah, how about that Dan Ugla on that list?
Upton and Ugla. Flipped foul. Dunn's ready. Qualls is battling B.J. Upton. Marlins want no part of Freddie Freeman, who's on deck. And he struck him out. And B.J. Upton goes down swinging. Still a 1-run game in Miami tonight.
Concludes out here on the West Plaza, and this is where we have the tree and column illumination. What is it supposed to represent?
You know, what Daniel Arston was trying to create as part of the Art Public Places was really for the tree column to be breathing on its own, and the light accomplished that goals as it fades up and down the column. And two, we wanted to for this to serve as a beacon for baseball fans coming to the ballpark. So if you're on 836 or miles away, you can actually see the light of the ballpark. So it works out great for that as well.
Well, Claude, thank you so much for all the insight tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure learning the details of some of the great art here at Marlins Park. And I hope fans can realize whether it's outside or inside, the park as a whole or the finer details, it really is a work of art. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Claude. Thank you, Allison. To finish the night, the Marlins need to get some runs. They are down 4-3 to the Atlanta Braves, the juggernauts of the East this year, and David Carpenter out of the Atlanta bullpen. It was the tag team of Avilan and Ayala who were able to get the key outs, get out of that seventh. Actually, it was Ayala got the key out and strikeout of Stanton. Avilan hit Yelich. Tehran ends up going 6 2/3. Morrison sends one into the seats.
Yeah, the Marlins need to construct an artistic rally on this night of art. Greg Dobbs has moved into the on-deck circle with the pitcher spot after that double switch. So Dobbs will hit for balls.
Count 1-2 on Morrison. Tehran 6 2/3, 3 earned. His ERA goes up just a little bit, 3.05. Tom Kohler, 5 innings, 8 hits, 4 runs. Carpenter ran that fastball in. He'd get it up there at 97 miles an hour.
Took a loss in one of those games in Philadelphia, gave up a home run to that big right-hander Darren Ruff.
See, that's what happens, Tommy. It's like texting and driving. When you're texting and a foul ball comes your way.
Now she's going to text that I just missed a foul ball because I was texting.
Morrison got jammed. Simmons out there to make the play. Carpenter has the first out of the 8th. And Dobbs will hit for the pitcher's spot, which is due up now.
Dobbs off to a slow start early in the year, and then he was playing a slow start pinch hitting. But that area has really picked up. 10 pinch hits on the year, 95 in his career.
Active leader, pinch hits, pinch hit RBIs. BJ Upton there. And Carpenter's come in and pounded the strike zone. He's got 2 quick outs. Danny Echeverria comes up. Aaron adds in. Since '93, Oakland's had 4 rookies of the year. Remember, they had that run of Ben Grieve, Bobby Crosby, Houston Street, Andrew Bailey. I think the crack staff, Aaron was fixated on the National League. But that's a nice pick there. Oakland also had a run about, was it 10 years earlier than that with Walt Weiss, Mark McGuire. Was McGuire Rookie of the Year? Canseco Rookie of the Year?
I think Canseco was. And Matthias asking us who are the finalists for Rookie of the Year this year. I think it's pretty much a two-man race right now with Jose Fernandez and Yasiel Puig. Shelby Miller's cooled off a little bit with the Cardinals. You mentioned Gaddis early in the year.
You know, and the ironic thing you pointed out the other night when we showed the shots of the Marlins starters and their failure to get deep into ball games, except for Fernandez, there are signs that some of those arms are running out of gas, but not Fernandez.
And he has not shown that,
which is fine. You know, I mean, that's the whole idea, is to ramp him up so that next year he's ready to go as long as they need him. Echeverria fouls a pitch back.
You get him around 170 innings this year, a couple more maybe. He'll certainly be on track for 200 innings next year.
Fastball in. Brantley awaits full count. Carpenter and Echeverria in the 8th. Atlanta's bullpen protecting a 1-run lead. Boston is leading the Rays 2-0 in the 9th in St. Pete. Did you catch the other day that Shane Victorino has stopped switch hitting?
Yeah, he did it initially because he had a little hip thing going on, and now he's just stayed with hitting right-handed and has been pretty successful. So the flying Hawaiian just flying from the right side of the plate.
Still flying though. 1-2-3 inning. David Carpenter looking sharp.
we want to make sure we give a shout out to some of the fans who submitted their Marlins artwork on Twitter and via email. Here's a couple of the better ones that we have for you. First of all, a nice sketch of Jose Fernandez from Beth here. Nice a pencil, maybe charcoal work there, I'm guessing. But Beth, props to you there. That's not easy to do a profile sketch like that. So very good work there by Beth. And then from one of our younger viewers, a piece of maybe a artwork that was probably done in an art class, I'm guessing, something like that. It looks like a little clay action, but it's Marlins ballpark. How cute is that? A Nostro tweeted that into us. So very good work, guys. Thank you so much for the submissions. We appreciate everyone who sent in their pieces of Marlins art, and props to you guys. Some very talented Marlins fans out there, and hope you all enjoyed learning a little bit more about some of the artwork featured here in our great ballpark. Guys, back up to you.
It's good stuff. Thank you, Allison. Mike Dunn, 9th inning.
Yeah, props to all who can put something down and draw a sketch or a still. I'm always amazed at the talent that people have that can do that.
Well, you know, both bullpens have been really good. Miami's pen, Phillips, Ramos, Qualls, and Dunn have been unscored upon. The Braves' pen as well. Freeman, Gaddis, McCann.
This trend continues. Mike Redmond's going to have a game where he starts the bullpen. Has them go first, because the bullpen's been terrific in this series.
There have been managers that have tried that. There have been managers that have had to go with bullpen games when a starter gets hurt.
So far in this series, the bullpen's worked 8 innings. He's given up just 1 hit and has 7 strikeouts.
Freeman, couple hits, has walked and struck out. Two and two. Ninth inning, Miami has scheduled Brantley, Polanco, Coghlan. Long run, Coghlan, Echeverria, Coghlan calling and catching. It's a long way to go to get that ball. Coghlan got there, made the play. Immediately following this one, Marlins Live, which is presented by Checkers. And of course, one of the big topics will be tomorrow night's start. Jose Fernandez, last start of the season. And we will hear from Jose on that start. Somebody, and as of the start of Marlins Live pregame, Jose didn't know who exactly. Somebody pulled the eye black on the rim of his cap trick on Jose. It's a rite of passage, as Jeff Conine said, for any rookie in Major League Baseball. And he put the eye black, guy puts the cap on, he's got the big black ring around his head.
That's always a little better than the analgesic bomb spreading, the hot stuff.
In the jockstrap.
Yeah. Or you actually, I've seen guys do it on the headband too. Yeah, see, it stays too. But you know what? Jose taking it like a rookie. He'll pass it on next year to somebody.
Gaddis hits a high fly foul. Marlins have not had the rookies dress up yet in costume.
Had some great sights. Last year, what was it? The soccer? Water polo. The water polo. Yeah.
USA water polo team. And the greatest production I've ever seen I've not been around baseball as long as you, but was Gonzo's production.
Oh, I agree. No, that was the greatest.
In New York of a variety of rookies in 07, was it?
Yeah, and because of what he had, not only the costumes, but because of what he had them do. I mean, they had to get on the subway. They had to get off at Times Square.
From Shea to Times Square, and then walk from Times Square, 6 blocks to the hotel.
To the team hotel.
And it was a ton of rookies. Dan Uggla was the rat, and Gonzo included rookies from the 06 team because there were so many rookies on 06 that nobody got hazed. There were no guys that dressed up, so it was rookies from 06 and rookies from 07. So there were like 12, 15 guys that were dressed up in a variety of.
John Baker.
He's Captain America.
Captain America.
Josh Johnson was
a giant banana,
just like the Hanes underwear commercial. Here's the 2-0. Or I guess it was Fruit of the Loom that had the commercial, because Scott Olson was grapes along with Jeremy Hermida. They were grapes as well. Ricky Nolasco was the Burger King. And remember, they made him go into McDonald's. Go to first is in time.
Fun time.
Yeah, we'll get that out of the archives. Right now, Craig Kimbrell is coming out of the bullpen, and that's a scary thought for the Fish. Means out of the bullpen, Craig Kimbrell comes running in, and when Kimbrell comes in, it's usually lights out. And last night, it was lights out for the Fish.
Well, last night, sliders. He's got a fastball that is absolutely electric. and a hard slider to get Lucas there. Kimbrel with 45 saves. The ERA at 0.92.
45 of 48 in save opportunities.
85 strikeouts in 58 2/3 innings.
He was 42 of 45 last year with an ERA of 1.01. Justin Ruggiano pinch hitting. Elliott Johnson is in left field. So he goes from second out to left. And Dan Uggla is in at second. We've seen Uggla put in the ballgame as a defensive replacement a few times here.
I think a lot of Marlins fans would have been surprised in the early years of Dan Uggla to know that he's being used as a defensive replacement.
Ruggiano going after the breaking ball, and Kimbrel punches him out for the first out of the 9th inning.
That's a tough assignment. Come off the bench and have to face a guy who has that kind of stuff. That young man has great stuff, and he'll be on the mound tomorrow night.
Mike has a question, and he tweets, do you think Kimbrel could win a Cy Young this year?
I think it's possible. You know, that everybody's kind of leaning toward Clayton Kershaw, but I think it's very possible with the numbers that Kimbrel's put up. Even though I know there is a Fireman of the Year award, an award for closers.
Just high heat, 98 miles an hour. Just like for a pitcher to win the MVP, they have to really have an exceptional year. For a closer to win the Cy Young, they have to have a really, really exceptional year, and it has to be almost a down year somewhat for top-of-the-line starters. But it's happened. That one ripped to left. Polanco got his hands through, and he's going to double to left field. Marcelo Polanco is in scoring position. Marlins not done yet.
Now remember, Polanco came in a double switch, so his second at bat in this game. There's that fastball. Misses the target, but a great adjustment by Polanco to get there and hit it sharply into left field.
And so now you've got Chris Coghlan coming up. Ed Lucas behind him, and a pinch runner for Polanco. Get the speed out there of Jake Marisnick. Oh, and 1. Remember, the Marlins hung a loss on Kimbrel earlier in the year in Atlanta.
Well, as we pointed out those numbers, that doesn't happen too often. Hitters hitting 157 against Kimbrel.
Marisnick. 0-2. And Coghlan couldn't hold up. He goes around. So Kimbrel strikes out Coghlan. Here comes Ed Lucas.
Boy, that's just that nasty slider. You've got to be ready for fastball and get it going. And then all of a sudden, here comes a slider, and you're in trouble.
Lucas takes it, gets to the screen. That's trouble. A throw, and hung up in a rundown is Marisnick, and he'll be tagged out, and the game ends on that. The ball took a carom back to the catcher, Brian McCann. Marisnick saw the ball get by the catcher, felt he could get to third, and by the time he realized McCann had the ball, he stopped between second and third.
Well, he's a rookie, but there are veterans that would make that mistake. You know that, and we've seen it, the ball really comes off that backstop hard, and McCann was ready for it, and once it got into McCann's hands, it was all over for Jake Marisnick. Right to McCann, and then he comes up and fires. Chris Johnson to Uggla, and just like that, the game is over. Well, it's a helpless feeling, too, when you're the runner.
Marisnick, once you go 3 feet out of the base path that you've established, you're out. And so the Marlins lose this one in a bizarre fashion at the end. Kimbrel gets the save, and it's 4-3 a final. The Braves win.